Hello, I'm Tracy. Welcome to the MeatRx Success Story podcast. I'm here today with Amy and Henry, her son. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming to share your success story. And can we begin by starting out with what was your life like and your health conditions prior to coming to Carnivore, and what foods did you eat?
Yeah. Well, typically, I mean, we ate the general, SAD diet, or the standard American diet. I actually did a lot of carnivore and keto before I got the rest of the family into it, because when I was 13, I was diagnosed with skin cancer, malignant melanoma, and struggled through a ton of surgeries with that, had a lot of issues, and finally went to a functional doctor who said, let's attack this from diet first before we start, continuing to do surgeries. And in one particular section on the back of my calf, I had gone through 14 different surgeries to try and continue to remove cancerous cells, and they just kept finding them. So he put me on CarnivoreDiet, and I'm 44 now. So this was 31 years ago. So CarnivoreDiet was still, not something that was widely used. The closest thing out there that most people understood of was, Atkins at that time. But he put me through a couple of stages of extended fasts, which was difficult for me at 13, but I still went through it. Well, actually, at that point, I was 15, because I was just didn't want to have any more surgery. So it was anything that I could do. Between the ages of 15 and 20, I, through diet and a series of fasts, got myself to the point where I had no more cancer cells showing up on my tests. So we concluded, basically through no other treatment other than diet, that I had removed all malignant melanoma cancer cells from my body. And then after that, I kind of went wild in my young adult life, but not too wild, but, fell off the diet, enjoyed, things a little bit too much. Got married, and my husband and I just, after marriage happens and kids, we just kind of pack on the pounds and stuff. We've got 2 older children as well, a 19 and 18-year-old. And, but I would still kind of go back to keto and go back to carnivore every once in a while, trying to get them to do it, which was impossible. They absolutely would not do it. They thought that I was crazy, and that, they were not giving up bread and pasta for anything. So that was difficult. But yeah, so, it was, I was quite overweight. My husband gained quite a bit of weight as well. We were, drinking sugary sodas, eating junk food. And then anytime that we'd try to lose weight, they would all go on, the low fat, high, vegetable and fruit diet. And I would kick into keto, and I'd, lose 20 pounds in a month, and they would lose 2 pounds in a month. So, and they were miserable, and I was eating bacon. So it was pretty, pretty easy. But I just could never get them to actually change over. It actually wasn't until my husband was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that he finally said, okay, I'll listen. And he wanted to know everything about carnivore and keto and all that. So that was the big turnaround for the family. Let's see, that was 2 years ago. And he, in 6 months, completely reversed his type 2 diabetes. His doctor actually states that he wouldn't even consider him type 2 diabetic or even pre-diabetic anymore. He also had a problem. I've got my notes because I can never remember numbers. His A1C was at 9.4, and now he's mid 5s. His last one was 5.8. His cholesterol, they actually wanted to put him on statin drugs, and that was that was really scary because statins are just a scary drug to begin with. Now this is all across 6 months of being on carnivore. His triglycerides went from 713 down to 84. His HDLs went from 22 up to 38. He's still working on trying to get those up a little bit more. And his LDLs actually were so high, they were unmeasurable when he first had his tests done. And within 6 months, he was at 107. So the doctor said he's never seen anything like that happen before. But then at the same time told him that his diet was dangerous and that he shouldn't do it. So I don't think they really get it yet. So they're kind of trying. And then, yeah.
Great. So far, you've just told me so much already that.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
No, that's perfectly fine. And I am amazed at the results. It's so miraculous.
Yeah, I mean the diet itself and having it's too bad that I can't find a functional doctor here or a functional medicine doctor here, but functional medicine, doing everything through diet first, it just seems like the way the body needs to actually go, and it's just it seems to work faster than the chemical drugs and all that kind of stuff that they try to put you on, and a lot of times they're just treating symptoms, not the actual root cause of the problem. And the diet is so easy to do, and it's so easy for us to self-medicate, if you will, with steaks and bacon. So
yeah, so you've done keto and carnivore, and you said like 2 years carnivore, or was that keto and carnivore?
So my husband has done 2 years, mostly carnivore, a little bit keto. I'm mostly carnivore. We actually transitioned more into keto when Henry was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that's just because it's really hard to get an 11-year-old to change his diet completely overnight. So we're working on him towards getting to be carnivore, but there are some things that we brought in, just some fibrous vegetables that help him to still get the that vegetable side. And then we do use almond flour in a few of the recipes that allow him to enjoy alternatives to bread. But we're transitioning over to pork rind flour here. We've put it into a couple of recipes and we're pretty happy with it.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. So how did you hear about the carnivore diet? Was it when you were keto that you heard about it?
It was, well, it wasn't called Carnivore Diet when I was introduced to it, but it was when I was battling cancer. My doctor just, he didn't have a name for it. He just said, we're going to go protein and fat only, and explained to me that, especially with malignant melanoma, that certain cancer cells thrive on glucose, and that without that glucose, you put those cancer cells into a state of weakness. Then when you do fasting, whether you're doing, intermittent fasting or extended fasting, and then you get into those stages of autophagic stages where your body starts to repair, it'll go after those cancer cells first and foremost because they're so weak and broken. So that's the way he explained it to me. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. And it seemed to work. It wasn't until probably about 10 years ago that I started hearing it get called something. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've been doing that off and on forever. That's pretty cool. And it was really nice to actually see that there was a community building of people that, ate this weird way that I did. Everybody thought that I was odd, or that, you can't live without vegetables. You can't live without, fruit and all of that stuff. And it's like, no, you really can. It's okay. It's a good way of living. So, and it doesn't exclude everything, it's quite a variety of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, nutrient dense and delicious foods.
Yes, some of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me what kind of improvements you noticed? And did Henry notice improvements?
Well, I know he noticed a lot of improvements. I mean, for me, it was, the cancer, my anxiety went down quite a bit. I'm a more level-headed person, which is good because I run a business and I run a warehouse full of people, and they don't like me when I'm off diet. So, but you know, you know, I sleep better. Although I don't need a lot of sleep, which is interesting. I probably only need about 4 hours of sleep a night, and I wake up completely refreshed. I'm up by about 4 a.m. I run a farm as well, our family farm. So we're very active, and I don't get tired. My muscles repair and recover a lot quicker and easier. So it's nice. With Henry, he was diagnosed with diabetes type 1 in August of 2020, so only about 6 months ago, and it was really difficult because even at that time we were already living kind of a low carb diet in the household. You know, even though I allowed them to eat whatever they wanted, it still wasn't too bad. I was getting them kind of on a healthier track, especially since my husband was doing keto and carnivore for his diet. And, you know, his endocrinologist said, well, we need him eating 320 to 350 grams of carbs a day. And I'm like, there's no way. I don't even allow that stuff into my house. I don't know what you expect me to do. And she was like, no, you know, he needs to have, you know, 100 to 120 grams of carbs in every meal. And, you know, and he needs to have a sugary snack before bed so that his blood sugars stay high through the night. And it just didn't make any sense. And even after being hospitalized, you know, it just felt wrong taking him home, feeding him a diet that I knew was really unhealthy, and then just pumping him full of insulin. It didn't make any sense. We tried it their way. I mean, it was quite sad. I've actually never had an experience with a doctor yell at me in the office, but, you know, for me to say, I'm not going to put him on this diet, and for her to lash out, you know, as if I was hurting my child, as a parent, it's very difficult to make that decision to do, but I just, you know, after about the 3rd month, we just knew it wasn't right. And we immediately put him on keto. We immediately removed all, this was about month 3, so about 3 months ago. We removed all grain from his diet. We removed all starches, removed all refined sugar. The only thing he has now is he has meats, and he has some fibrous green vegetables. He does enjoy a few cherry tomatoes as a sweet thing. But we do mostly, you know, we do chaffle mixes for bread and things like that. And it gives him an alternative that can be almost fully carnivore. So, and so do you remember your numbers? You've got your numbers written down here. You want to tell him what you did? So what was your A1C when you went into the hospital?
Well, first off, it was 14.2. And like about a few days ago, we tested it and it was down to 5.8, just like my dad.
So in 6 months, he went from 14.2 down to 5.8 in A1C.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. Wow, that's awesome.
And his regular blood glucose levels during right after he got out of the hospital were ranging around the 200 to 300 range, which they said was fine. They wanted to see him up in that area, which didn't seem right because that's not what normal is. So why keep him above normal? And so what are your numbers like now?
Well, I am pretty much staying right around 70 and 90.
Yeah, he stays right around 70 to 90. He's high if he's above 100. And he very rarely gets into the 60s. Occasionally he cheats. And
I used to do that. And then
this
we figured
little,
out a lot of
the
stuff.
alarms on the phones, man, you can't get away. He wears a Dexcom. So, you know, we know in the middle of the night if he's snuck something that he's not supposed to. So he doesn't do that anymore. But yeah, he's had miraculous turnaround, that's for sure.
Incredible. Yes. Wow. I'm excited for him. So,
You know, yeah, and he actually when we left the hospital, he was doing 12 units of basal insulin, long-term insulin, and he was doing up to he was doing 1 unit per 20 grams of carbs for the meal. So, you know, in a typical meal with what they were prescribing, that was 5 to 6 units of insulin at every single meal. Now he does 3 units of basal insulin every day, which actually has been keeping him quite low. We're actually thinking of decreasing that to 2. And he does not take any rapid insulin at all during the day.
yay. I know you're happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of.
Way less pokes. He doesn't have to get shot so often.
Yeah, that's what I'd be happy about too.
Yeah.
And feeling good. I'm sure he feels much better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, they want to put a pump on him, but I thought if he doesn't need the insulin, you know, then why put a pump on him? You know, we can self-administer just a little bit. We don't need to be, you know, flooding him with just little trickles of insulin all day long. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. What incredible stories in your family. I'm so excited to hear about them. Can you tell me a little bit about your farm?
Yeah, well, we've got 80 acres. It's actually a pre-Revolutionary War farm that we're restarting from the family. It's been in the family for a very long time, um, and we raise alpacas and we raise goats. The dairy that we do is goat milk, and so we are trying to become as much of our own goat milk as possible for all of our dairy. And we do all sorts of poultry. Yeah, we do.
Chickens, ducks.
Yeah,
Stuff.
turkeys. We do the eggs and the meat. We process everything ourselves. So good for him to know where his food comes from. But we definitely, you know, people always ask us, oh, you farm, what do you raise in your garden? I'm like, goat food. It's we don't eat much from the garden. We do a little bit. We can for neighbors and friends and such. And then we trade. We've got a pig farmer that lives in the farm next to ours, and so we trade with him. He gets chicken eggs and goats and a little bit of money, and we get a huge pig twice a year, and we put that in the freezer. And then we've got a good friend of ours who lives down the road that's an Angus farmer, and we get a cow to a cow and a half a season from him. And people are always surprised at how much meat we eat, but I mean, we've got 3 freezers we keep full of meat. So yeah, bananas too.
Good point.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, awesome. So can you tell me what a day looks like for you and for Henry on eating? Do you eat 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day?
No, we actually eat a lot. We eat as often as we feel like. I get up at 4, and I usually start my day off with an egg and some coffee, just at 4. And then by the time that I pick him up, either I've just had breakfast or I pick him up at his grandmother's, who lives on the other side of the property, because he stays with her at night. And we pick him up. Either he's already had a chaffle for breakfast, or we have some sausage here at the warehouse. And then throughout the day, we snack. We like to graze, and we keep a lot of different proteins and dairy products around that, we can grab a little bit here, a little bit there. I only do fasting now when I'm going to do an extended fast. And so when I am feeding, I actually will just do a lot of little tiny small bits here and there throughout the day, rather than, large meals. And then by the time we get home, we get the whole family together, which is 5 or 6 of us, depending on if Nana is involved. And we do just a dinner of various meat dishes. And then if Nana is involved, then we have, or also my daughter, who she actually has declined to do the keto and carnivore diet. She's 19, so she can make that choice on her own. I'm not allowed to force her anymore. But she actually prefers still to keep bread and fruits and stuff like that in her life. She doesn't, even with all the things she's seen, she's very proud of what we've been able to do, but she wants to stay on the standard American diet herself. So we'll do sides for her and stuff like that if she's joining us. And then, yeah, my other son, Anderson, he can eat either way. It's as long as he's eating, he doesn't care. So he's not really making a choice. He's 18, so he's able to burn off anything that he might eat that's not right. He's got some time. So, and then desserts, we do some sort of like a chaffle donut or something like that if we do a dessert. And then that's it. I mean, we just, like I said, we graze on protein all day long. And then if it's a weekend, we do larger, more consistent meals, because I'll do like a really big family breakfast, and then I'll make lunch for everybody after we've been working on stuff on the farm, and then I'll do a really big dinner. It's a little harder to graze when you're, out on the back of 80 acres. So.
Right. So Henry, can you tell me what chores you do on the farm?
Well, I actually help my dad with feeding and watering basically everyone, all of our animals, and I feed our dogs.
We have 8.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's no small job then.
Yeah, but 4 of them are livestock guardian dogs.
Yeah.
But
And he knows where all the secret nests are to gather eggs. We'll look in, it's the way with chickens. You build a nest for them and they're going to go lay somewhere else. So he knows where they are so that he collects the eggs every day.
Awesome. Wow. Do you have fun with the alpacas?
Yeah, we got one really nice one who will come up to you and like sniff you, and he'll be really nice to you and everything.
And give kisses.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
so do you do anything with the alpacas besides, for their fur or anything?
We just shear them, and then we actually are next year. We've been collecting the fiber for the last couple of years, and we've got a campaign that we're going to be doing for creating bird nest boxes where birds have a resource to go and pick from to make their nests for the nesting season. And we're going to be doing that, and then donating the money that we get from that to our local Audubon Society.
Awesome. Wow. What an incredible story that you have shared with us. We sure appreciate it. And I'm so thrilled to hear all of the success that each person in your family has had. So I really appreciate you coming, Amy and Henry. It's been wonderful to meet you, and I hope to see you around the carnivore community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're just really proud of the changes that we've made, and anything that we can do to tell everybody about this, way of eating and way of life. It's, we preach it almost every day. We're always telling people, put down the carrot, pick up a piece of bacon. It's better for you, and it tastes better too.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. That's why we love these success stories, because they help so many people, and I appreciate you coming to share yours.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.